I made the image from Al, so the character sometimes changes from Asian to European. Hope you understand. They say a loud voice may capture a crowd, but a powerful message will touch every heart. Welcome, dear friends, to this channel, where today I'll take you on a journey. A tale of choices, courage, and the kind of selflessness that can change lives in ways you never imagined. Our story begins with a young man, just 24, working under the iron hand of a harsh employer. He was alone in this world, his parents long gone, and every single day felt like a test of survival. From sunrise to dusk, he toiled for meager wages, barely enough to scrape by. Each night he returned to his tiny rented room, cooked his simple meal, ate in silence, and collapsed from exhaustion. One evening, after preparing 4 humble chapatis with a handful of vegetables, he stepped away to wash his hands. When he came back, something felt off. One of the chapatis had vanished. Maybe he had miscounted, he thought, shrugging it off. But the next night, it happened again. And on the third night, determined to catch the culprit, he kept watch. To his utter shock, he discovered the thief, a plump, bold mouse nibbling on his food. Infuriated, he caught it in his hands, ready to toss it outside. But to his amazement, the mouse spoke. Yes, spoke. "Brother," pleaded the mouse, its eyes wide with a strange innocence. "Why do you chase me away? I only take what is meant for me by fate. Please, allow me this one chapati." The boy was stunned. "I can barely feed myself," he shouted. "Every night you steal from me. You make my miserable life even harder." The mouse sighed and lowered its head. "I understand," it said softly. "But if you wish, I can show you the path to something greater. A sage named Gautam Buddha resides in a distant ashram. He holds the answers to the burdens you carry. Seek him, and you will find the guidance you crave." Something stirred in the boy's heart. A desperate hope, perhaps. The next morning, he asked for a 5-day leave from his employer, packed a cloth bundle of dry bread, and set out on foot to find this Buddha. His journey was grueling. By nightfall, he reached a magnificent mansion along the roadside and requested shelter. The wealthy owner of the mansion welcomed him. "Where do you travel, young man?" asked the old master of the house. "I'm going to see Gautam Buddha," the boy replied earnestly. The owner's eyes lit up. "Then perhaps you can help me," he said with urgency. "My daughter has not spoken a word for 20 years. Please, will you ask Buddha when my child will regain her voice?" The boy agreed without hesitation and continued onward. The next day, his path led through treacherous snowy peaks, and he feared he might lose his way. There, high atop the frozen cliffs, sat a magician in deep meditation. The boy approached him carefully. "Where are you headed?" asked the magician, opening his wise, weary eyes. "I seek Buddha's counsel," the boy explained. The magician nodded. "Then I, too, beg a favor. I have meditated here for 1,000 years, yet cannot ascend to heaven. Ask Buddha why." The boy agreed, and in gratitude, the magician used his powers to guide him safely through the icy pass. Soon he came to a roaring river, impossible to cross by swimming. A colossal tortoise emerged from the depths, watching him with kind, ancient eyes. "Where are you going, traveler?" grumbled the tortoise. The boy answered, "To seek wisdom from Gautam Buddha." The tortoise sighed. "For centuries I have waited here, yearning to transform into a dragon. Ask Buddha how long I must wait to become one." The boy nodded again, and the tortoise kindly carried him across the river on its broad shell. At last, dusty and worn, the boy reached Buddha's ashram, where the great sage sat surrounded by disciples. His teachings were deep, the atmosphere serene. But when the boy approached with folded hands, Buddha spoke gently. "You may ask me only 3 questions." The boy's heart sank. He had 4. His own struggle weighed heavily on him, yet 3 others had placed their hopes in him. For a long moment, he wrestled with this burden, his dreams versus their prayers. And then he made a choice that would alter his destiny. He would sacrifice his own question. He asked first about the mansion owner's daughter, then the magician's path to heaven, and lastly, the tortoise's wish to become a dragon. Buddha answered with a peaceful smile. "Tell the mansion owner that his daughter will find her voice on the day of her wedding. Tell the magician that he will rise to heaven the moment he abandons his staff. And tell the tortoise that he will soar as a dragon if he dares to shed his shell. The boy bowed in gratitude, though a quiet ache remained in his heart. His question, his burden, left unanswered. He began his journey home, carrying Buddha's words. First, he visited the river and told the tortoise the truth. Trembling, the tortoise peeled away its shell, and in a burst of light transformed into a dazzling dragon, soaring into the sky. Out of gratitude, it left behind a mountain of priceless pearls. The boy then climbed to the snowy peaks where the magician waited. "Buddha says," the boy announced, "you must release your staff." The magician's eyes filled with tears. With a heavy breath, he dropped his staff, and his body lifted in a golden light, finally ascending to heaven. In thanks, he entrusted the staff, a staff of unimaginable power, to the boy. At last, the boy returned to the mansion and delivered Buddha's answer. The owner wept with relief and joy. "Who better to marry my daughter than the one who brought back her hope?" the man cried. Though surprised, the boy agreed. On the day of their wedding, the girl looked into his eyes, and her first words in 2 decades poured forth. "You are the one who rescued our hearts." The boy now stood before a new life, a life filled with love, wealth from the dragon's pearls, and the powerful staff left behind by the magician. Everything he had once lacked was now his. But more precious than riches or magic was the lesson engraved forever on his soul. That true greatness blooms when we place the well-being of others above our own. In sacrificing his own question, he had received far more than answers. He had gained meaning, purpose, and a future he never thought possible. Friends, the world will often test you with the same choice: your needs versus the needs of others. And in those moments, you hold tremendous power. You can keep what little you have and struggle alone, or you can dare to give and open the floodgates of unimaginable blessings. Helping others is never a loss. Letting go of greed, fear, and doubt makes room for something far more profound. Compassion, connection, and a kind of happiness no material possession could ever match. So ask yourself today, what is your question? What burden do you carry? And could you just once set it aside to help someone else? Because if you do, life may surprise you, just as it surprised a lonely young man with a talking mouse, tortoise's dream, and a girl who found her voice, with blessings beyond anything you ever imagined. Music rises gently, inspiring and hopeful. Don't be afraid to choose generosity over fear, to lend a hand instead of closing your fist. Selflessness is not a weakness. It is the truest power of all. When you choose to lift others, you lift yourself higher than you ever thought possible. This is the heart of today's story, and maybe the beginning of your own. What journey will you begin? Whose burden will you help carry? And what magic might wait on the other side? Stay inspired, stay kind, because the universe always finds a way to repay the good you do. Music fades out, soft, lingering.